Hello, everybody, and welcome to Podfluxxx episode 54. I'm your host, Kevin Fulton. With me, as always, Ricky Reyes. Ricky, we are one day removed from Mother's Day. How was Mother's Day down in Texas?
It was good. Just relaxing. She's been working a lot, so just got to hang out all weekend.
Very nice, very nice. Would you buy her?
We got roses and a card, the usual.
Very good. Very good. Oh, I don't know where my screen just went. That's cute. Hang on. I still hear you.
Oh, you just don't
And
see me.
now I found you.
No.
Excellent. That's you know what? That's always how you want to start a show.
Right.
When your screen just totally goes blank. Last night in nerd news, I was playing my PlayStation 5, right? And then it beeped 3 times, shut off, and never turned back on. And I was panic stricken, and I immediately took to the internet, and everything I read on the internet about what's wrong with your PlayStation when this happens uh, just made me more worried. So I stopped reading it. I'm gonna give it a shot after this and
Oh
hope
boy.
to God that it turns back on because it wasn't going to, and I'm not done with Spider-Man 2 yet, and there's gonna be problems. But we are going to start this show off with hopefully no problems. I'm going to start with something that you probably know a little bit more about than I do, and then we'll get into some AEW and then some WWE TKO stuff, and we'll wrap this thing up. So, are you ready?
Sure.
Gabe Kidd
Yeah.
beats Eddie Kingston in a no rope last man standing match at New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong's Resurgence at the Toyota Center in Ontario, California. It looks like they had about 3,000 people there. Depending on what the building is setting up for, it seems like it can hold right around low 9 to high 10s.
Yeah.
You got to consider, first of all, how do you consider that house for New Japan in California?
I mean, 3,000 is really good for them there. Uh, have you ever seen clips of when they did the Best of Super Junior or the Super? I think it was Super J Cup. They do it in the pyramid shaped Long Beach building.
Yes, I've seen one
Yeah.
or two videos on that.
Okay, they probably should have ran there with that crap card because I think that building is significantly smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that I mean I haven't been to that building, but that's like 10 minutes from where I grew up and where my parents live. So that I think that's like one of the newer buildings, but from what I saw, yeah, it was probably like curtained off at halfway, and then the top was blacked out. So they had a good crowd for what they had set up. But it
Real
was
quick,
mm,
uh, as far as you're concerned, is it better to book the smaller house, the smaller building, and turn them away at the door, or to book the bigger building and be able to fit more in?
nah. I always go with the smaller building, um, just because the sound, right? Like when we're wrestling in there, we want that energy on top of us, you know.
Right.
And I always felt like even if it was a smaller building and had a few hundred, was better than wrestling because I've wrestled at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas where the UNLV Rebels play,
Yeah.
and we did a lucha show there and had maybe 800 people,
Mm-hmm.
and it was bad. I mean, it was bad because they didn't curtain anything off. they were just kind of like told to sit on one side and then on around the floor area. So that was awful.
And then there's a big, big, big empty building of
Yeah,
seats that just reminds you how many people don't give a shit about you.
right. But
Yeah.
it's just the echo and the sound is, like
But
you hear us calling spots better than you hear the fan reaction. So it was just bad. But I always think back to that. I mean, it looked like this crowd was into everything and was reacting well. I just don't understand the mindset in booking that building unless they had some sort of crazy deal on it. Uh, I would have much rather them have done it in Long Beach at that pyramid, because I think they pull in a couple thousand in that one. But I think they said it was the largest crowd in Southern California for them, which is, a pretty big deal. So, I mean, 3,000 people is still a great house, but it's frustrating when, there's 9,000 seats in catering. So,
right. And it's different than, you can say New Japan Strong 3,000 seats is a great house. You
yes.
say AEW Dynamite 3,000 seats is a terrible house. One of them is nationally exposed on television for 5 hours a week.
Right.
The other one, basically, you need an internet connection and you need to know what you're looking for and what you want to find.
Yeah,
So
it also
the two things different.
Yeah, it also goes to show how I think, especially this year, I guess they've started back up doing more consistent strong shows again. So I'm curious, like that's kind of like a ballsy move for them to rent such a big stadiums or arena. So we'll see. I mean, they keep announcing more and more shows, so hopefully they're trying to, fill them up. I mean, they did a great job in Chicago, right? I think that had
Yeah.
6,000
Yep.
was yeah. So that was great. California, I would have went with a smaller building and turned people away, made it a bigger thing. I would have did the Long Beach building.
Well, back to the matter at hand. Gabe Kidd wins the New Japan Strong title from Eddie Kingston. Gabe Kidd, a Bullet Club war dog, right? Is he considered the leader of that faction?
No, I think Finley's the leader, but they have like a junior tag, and then Gabe Kidd is apparently like the loose cannon character,
right?
Of that group. Yeah.
Did you see his promo? I guess from the week beforehand, where he told Eddie Kingston something like, "I'll put a bullet in you" or something.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! So this is a big bump for him there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How much work do you know that he does of actually in Japan?
Well, he was already an independent wrestler in the UK or somewhere, and he came to New Japan as a young lion. He was kind of already established in the UK, but decided to go through the young lion system in New Japan. So when I was over there with doing the Black Tiger gimmick, he was there for like a short time and had some sort of mental breakdown, like legitimate mental breakdown. Um, I was in like a group text with like Carl Anderson and Osprey and basically everybody in the strong group, right? And we were in California and he was in Santa Monica somewhere, like on the beach, writing some crazy stuff where a couple of the guys had to leave the hotel in the middle of the night to go check on him. And then when we got to the building, they were like, kids taking some time off to go home. And I don't know. I believe it was pressure that got to him and he just cracked. Part of it too, I think he was trying to argue with everybody on the internet, like defending New Japan, and he was trying to take the world on all alone, And I think he just let it get to him. Like, he's a good guy. works his ass off. I'm just glad he's healthy and, he's back doing what he does. But I believe he just recently re-signed with New Japan too, so that's good for him.
So him winning the Strong title, that's obviously, as far as Strong is concerned, he's tippy top.
Yeah.
Does that translate or catapult him as far as like mainstream New Japan Pro Wrestling is concerned? Is he going to, like, can he return there elevated because of this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think the fans, the New Japan fans, follow Strong a lot more. When I was there, I remember them saying that the Strong show was the most viewed series that they had in New Japan World. So like New Japan being big in the United States to the New Japan fans is a big deal. And it's watched by everybody, and they kind of know, like they're those types of fans that will search you out and care and everything else. So hopefully it does great things for him. I mean, I'd like to see him go far, like in the G1, and have some really good performance. I'm sure he could. Just a matter of giving him the right guys to get in there and let loose on. But with Finley at the front, and then they have like Connors and that other Jack dude, are like the junior tag guys, Dick Diller or something. Like they have a great group. Again, like you gotta keep them strong, right? Like remember they kind of heated them up and then they kind of died off, and then now they're heated back up. So I mean, hopefully they do something big with them.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe this will lead to, like, like a breakout moment between,
Yes.
him and Finley or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I wanted to touch on that, and then moving on just a little bit, we're gonna do a little bit of AEW here tonight. This is all going to serve a purpose.
Did you see Gabe Kidd give Kingston that suplex through
The
the table?
brainbuster through the
Did
table?
you see his knee?
Kingston's?
Yeah.
Yeah, how they banged off the guardrail like that?
Man. Yeah. Does anybody know? Is he injured, or because it looked nasty?
I haven't read anything on it
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
I mean, luckily for him, he happened to be, dropping that title that night.
Yeah, but
So,
it looked gross. Like,
yeah, but I'm sure. I mean, AEW isn't really too forthcoming when somebody gets hurt. You don't find out about it normally.
yeah.
If it's not one of their tippity top guys, you don't find out about it until you're like, wait a minute, that guy hasn't been on TV for 3 months, and they're like, oh, he's just getting all his vertebrae fused together. But speaking of AEW, 2 weeks away from Double or Nothing. It's going to be at the MGM Garden Grand Arena in Las Vegas. They are currently set up for 7,000, and they've got just over 6,000 distributed as of 2 days ago. Now, the card for that show, the real reason why we're having this conversation, um, for the AEW International Championship, we will have Roddy Strong versus Will Ospreay. For the TBS Championship, we will have Willow Nightingale and the in-ring debut of Mercedes Moné. For the Women's World title, we have Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb. And then for the AEW World Championship, it is going to be the champion Swerve Strickland taking on Christian Cage. So right now, that's 4 matches. There is going to be another match announced here that we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about that one separately, just based on its mere preposterosity. So, where are you at on that card so far?
Seems different, so that's good. Serena Deeb, all of a sudden she's a top contender for the world championship?
Well, technically, I think she's coming back off an injury.
Oh,
She
okay.
she's yet to have, I believe, her shoulders pinned in AEW.
Oh, okay.
But,
All right.
she gets on TV for 3 weeks and then vanishes for 8 months and then back on
Yeah.
TV for 3 weeks. So you can't beat somebody who's not there.
Right. Um, I was thinking, it's funny because I was thinking about the Osprey situation, right? Um, there was no word on the length of his contract. Can you recall?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So again, putting logic into this booking, so this won't happen. I'm thinking he or I would have him beat Strong, right? Of course, this obviously building towards London still. And instead of going with Swerve and Osprey, what if we went with Osprey and Pac in London? Yeah.
Mm,
Because they like the bangers over there.
yes,
Um, that's kind of a win-win for both guys because they're from there. I do not recall Pac being there last year, right?
correct.
Okay, so he'll. I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
because if we have Osprey for what 3 years, right? We can have him run with this the rest of this year, calendar year, and then into like next year at some point, dropping it and then starting the chase for London for him next year.
I like it. I like your line of logic there, but you're leaving out a very, very, very important variable,
Okay.
a wild card, an X factor, a monkey wrench, if you will, that is Tony Khan. Now, um, I love your logic, but I'm going to predict that Tony Khan goes full WCW here, okay, and puts the international title on Will Ospreay, and then goes Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland in London for both belts, unifies them so he can have his ridiculously absurd WCW International World Heavyweight Championship,
Oh shit.
and then he can technically consider Orange Cassidy a world champion.
Okay. As ridiculous as that is, that makes more sense than what I predicted would happen. So yeah, that's as stupid as it comes. I don't know. I was just thinking like don't because didn't they put in almost 50,000 already into London?
I believe so. I
I
can
was
double check that.
I was looking for it the other day and I couldn't find it. I was looking for it I think yesterday. Um I also have another ticket question later. But I couldn't remember like right off the bat. I think they did 40 and then it's around 50 the last time I checked. I'm just trying to think like, a good build and, Pac is back with a good match against Okada. He could wrestle anybody. If you heated Pac up until London, he's mad because remember when he started the heel turn in WWE, he was pissed that he wasn't invited to the CWC. I don't know if you remember when Rich Swann won the belt. He came down to congratulate him, and he just walked in the ring and just dropped him with a forearm. And then
Yeah.
his whole gripe was that how could you have a cruiserweight tournament and the best cruiserweight in the world wasn't even invited? So I'm thinking like you were here in London, how do you not have the best wrestler in London, not on the event and blah blah blah. And then Ospreay could come out because he's quote unquote the best in the world as well, you know. And
there's a lot of that going around lately.
yeah, it's really catchy. But you know, they could have an awesome match. Pac as a heel is just money. Beating the shit out of Ospreay would be fun. That's a match I don't think we've had, right? They missed each other in New Japan by a couple of years, I think. But I would do that. That's what I would do. I think that's a big draw for them there. Like both those guys' faces on posters around London would be cool, you know. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to make it make sense so these guys start really building right. Because what else is Pac doing, right? I mean, he's kind of just there, so give him something to do in this sense. Whether he win or lose is kind of, to them at least, irrelevant, right? I mean, I would imagine Ospreay wins again. Right now he's 2-0 in London, right? So you kind of touch on that little game of, you know, and then a nice slow build for him would be good. I don't know, you know.
As of 2 days ago, they've distributed 40,937 tickets. 405 of them just in the last 12 days. They're 133 days from showtime. I do believe, though, that last year when ticket sales opened, they opened with like $30,000 or $35,000.
Yeah.
So they're already, I feel like if I remember properly, they're a little behind where they were last year's. But I mean, we all knew last year that doing this again, this was how this was going to go. But back to this Double or Nothing. You may have noticed that in this card, I haven't mentioned a tag team title match or a continental title match. Well, that's because the tag team champions and the continental champion, the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada, will be joining forces with Jack Perry versus FTR, Eddie Kingston, and Bryan Danielson for an Anarchy in the Arena match. Might I remind you of how many months that we lost Bryan Danielson for after the last time he was in an Anarchy in the Arena match, and all he did was get up in the stands and fight with somebody
Right.
all the time. How quickly did they blow this angle?
It was quick. I don't even know what to say about that. That's gonna be bad. It's gonna be dumb. It'll be a lot of, hey, you know what'll be funny? Like, I'm sure that's gonna be 90% of the match.
Yes.
Building it up will be, hey, you know what'll be funny? So it'll be garbage. Another cornet rant to follow.
Mind
what
you,
a waste!
this is going to be
What a waste Okada is at this point. How was there a faster fall from? I mean, fall from being a megastar to what
just
the fuck am I doing? Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Now this is the first match of this angle with the Bucks and Okada and Jack Perry and
Okay.
I guess, you know, their evil power trip and
right,
you know, and another crew coming up against them, and they're going directly to a blow-off style match. Now,
yeah, of course.
I know it's not the same thing, right? And but it's like something that we tend to bring up when we were doing Conflux versus VSK and friends.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go directly to the
Cage match.
The War Games
War
style
Games.
cage match,
Right.
because we knew there were steps to take to get everybody there, right?
Right.
The fans included.
Right.
You know, there was a story to be told instead of, in the last 2 weeks, they've hospitalized Tony Khan. LOL, he's okay. They've hospitalized Kenny Omega, and now they're going right into a blow-off style match. The FTR involvement in this is preposterous, just because it was like they decided they were going to come and stick up for Eddie Kingston. It just came out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, it has everything to do with Punk being friends with Punk, so they feel that's enough to tie in FTR / we need someone to beat that'll make us look good, and bump around for us. So
again, now this is gonna be now another thing about this is, what does this do for Swerve and for his world title match? You know, it's just they're not putting him in a position to really be the top guy when they're throwing all of this other nonsense, essentially at his feet, right?
yeah.
Like, what is having this kind of a match and this angle on the card with his world title match with Christian Cage do to help Swerve?
Oh, it does nothing. Like, they're not going to book it according to making it make sense or build up to another match on the card. I mean, my question is, what's the difference between an Anarchy in the arena and like a regular Moxley match? What's the difference between the two?
Well,
what will they do differently here than
more guys?
Okay, more people.
And
More
luckily, Moxley's not
right
involved in this. So
right. But what is he gonna do in his match to try to steal thunder from this bullshit where it's gonna be a garbage show? In other words, like the entire show is gonna have three or four matches similar. It's stupid. Again, what's Swerve gonna say? I mean, does he have the balls to say, "Hey, like, you guys put me on early then, so I could tear the house down because you guys are gonna go out and do furniture and then some," right? Or is he gonna say, "Yeah, I'll be last with a 50-year-old guy who's one of the safest wrestlers probably ever," and go out and have a conservative back and forth style world title match? Like, I don't know, like what's the point, right? I mean, will this be the last match on the show, or are they just gonna clean up the bullshit and have fans standing on broken glass and whatever the fuck on the floor while Swerve tries to hammerlock Christian Cage?
right.
So
They do their best to make sense. But and then my last AEW point of the evening was, did you see anything from Collision on Saturday night?
I did see clips of this, yeah.
My God, when I saw on Twitter and it was like the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington, and I'm looking at him and I was like, is this AI? Like, how'd they do this? Because I'll be damned, he looks just like him.
Yeah, I became familiar with them when I went up to Calgary. I think it was 2018. I did the Smith Hart tournament or something. It was like a 3-day tournament in Calgary and Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
And Dynamite's daughter was there, and his ex-wife, the one that he put the shotgun in her face to wake her up, that one. She was there. They were there for all 3 shows. They worked them. So, and then that's when I had known that Tommy's they had a tag team. I don't know if it's him and his brother, or it's him and his cousin or something. But they at the time they just started teaming up, and he was much skinnier. But they were doing like the Bulldogs thing, like the Billington Bulldogs, I think, or something like that.
Right.
Um, anyways, yeah, facial wise, he looks exactly like his dad. And then now, since he's put some size on, he looked, 10 times more, right? But yeah, I mean, I saw that because they were in Vancouver. I think that's
Yeah.
more west. Yeah, so that was an easy shot for him, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They did it. Did they do it just for the house that night? I mean, is he going to pop up again? Um, what was the point? I don't know. You know.
Well, I mean, they put him out there with Dax,
Yeah.
so to get the absolute most desired effect out of somebody in Canada,
Yeah.
you're calling the Dynamite Kid. Like, obviously,
Right.
Dax was the choice to make. I watched it. I thought it was a really good match. I was curious to see what you thought, knowing how the Dynamite Kid was I guess a favorite of yours
I
in
mean,
ring.
it
So,
was great, right? It was cool to see, but I mean, what was it? What was it for?
right.
It was. I mean, again, just for the house. Okay, that's fine. I don't know. It's just it doesn't excite me because the last thing I would ever want for this poor kid is to sign with AEW. Right? I mean, how are they gonna, you know, they're not gonna enhance him in any way. Uh, I always remember back to like a story. Dynamite said that one of the first times he met with Vince about signing with WWF, Vince had an idea to have him and Davey come out with um, bones in their mouth, like they were actual bulldogs. And I remember the argument with Dynamite was, I'm a huge star in Japan. Why would I do something so stupid,
Right.
And they compromised on bringing an actual bulldog, Matilda, on the road, which I'm sure was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I always think about like, what would they do with him? I mean, they'd probably hire him, and then he'd be missing for like the next 7 months, pop up on a rampage here and there. It was cool to see. It was a cool little thing for that town, but it just was pretty much at the end of the day, you're like, and then what?
So, it would have been easy a few months ago to say, well, yeah, but then if he signs with WWE, they would immediately put him in, NXT and call him, you know, Bill Tomington or, and just never even mention the. But now, with there being a new
Yeah.
driving force there, there's really no telling. But he is small. I mean, he's in great shape,
Yeah.
but he's got a little bit of growing to do. But I want to switch gears right now. Did you see Dana White's comments this week?
About the 3-day shot or whatever that they're doing.
Well, not just the 3-day shot, but he was quoted as saying that some of the fighters who fight here have always dreamt about doing a WWE match or whatever it is. And I don't have a problem with that, White said. I didn't have a problem with. So basically, he's saying that it would be cool with him if a UFC guy wanted to do a crossover and go have the WWE match. So again, with the regime of the past, that's like he would immediately. I feel like Vince would immediately just start looking for somebody to bring in for no good goddamn reason, otherwise just to do it. What do you think about the UFC guys blurring the lines into WWE matches?
Mm, I don't know. I mean, we already. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess it would depend on who it was, and I don't watch UFC, so I'm not familiar with any of the guys except, the poster boys, type guys like
Right.
John Jones and McGregor's. And so I don't know. I'm all for them doing the thing like they did with Chandler, where
He
they
called
get,
out Connor.
yeah, where they set up pay-per-views using the WWE platform, because they cheered. It was cool. I was really hoping that McGregor would answer at WrestleMania, because I thought that would have been crazy and good publicity, right? Like, he answers Chandler, Chandler calls him out on a pay-per-view and he answers at WrestleMania. Like, I could see that being a Vince thing. Like, he's perfect for WrestleMania, he walks like me, something like that would have been cool. Like, or even if they do have some sort of face off in the WWE and maybe they slide into the ring and then it turns into a big Brock Lesnar style pull apart with like 90 pairs of black polos and slacks, separating.
Tyson and
That's
Austin. Tyson and
Yeah,
Austin.
exactly. So like I could see that being cool, but I don't know. I would dread being that guy getting that call like, oh hey, Anderson Silva wants to do a 5-minute match. Ricky Reyes, why don't you hop in there and turn your head on those flying knees and hope for the best, So that's gotta suck. It's just thinking like which guy is gonna be in there to be like, I guess I'll wrestle him,
Right. On top of the fact that, well, first of all, it's not a two-way street. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So you can take a UFC guy, you can bring him into WWE for a match, and you can put him over, and it's no harm, no foul.
Right.
But a WWE guy can't turn around
Yeah.
and just walk into UFC, have a fight, and then lose, and then come back home and be like, he'll never live that down. Like, how famous are the CM Punk losses? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But then the other thing is like these are legit guys, so it's almost like you have to put them over every time,
Yes.
and that doesn't do anything for anybody who works for WWE every day. But the other thing, as you mentioned, is Dana White was talking about having Power Slap on Friday nights, which is ridiculous on its own merit. UFC pay-per-view on Saturday night, and then WWE premium live events returning back to Sundays. Where you at on the Sunday premium live events versus it being on Saturday?
I don't know. I feel like Sundays was always better for pay-per-views, just because I always felt like people were more in tune to being home and would order pay-per-views for then,
Right.
Not that they do pay-per-views anymore, but you know what I mean. I don't know. It's a different audience, a completely different audience. So are they talking about renting the building? Because what happens to Friday Night SmackDown? Is it no longer on Fridays since we got people slapping each other like fucking bitches?
I am going to assume that outside of him saying Power Slap will be on Fridays, that
SmackDown would be.
no other person in the history of this planet will ever say Power Slap ever again.
Right.
So I'm not worried at all about losing SmackDown to Power Slap.
Right. I had heard that was one of the things that was thrown out there, I think, right off the bat. I think it was for like a lot of the international stuff, though.
Yeah.
Was supposed to be like in Dublin or something, I think was one of the places that was brought up first to do SmackDown, UFC, WWE in the same building, I believe.
Right.
My understanding. So that'd be cool. You had to figure at some point this was going to come up somewhere. And if they do it internationally or Vegas, where they can really, pull in a solid crowd for each event would be cool. I mean, that's the world we live in now, right? With this new company. So a lot of it is talk, I think. I think a lot of this is like possibilities. Nothing's really set in stone. I couldn't imagine stuff like this. So we'll see.
All right. The next little bit of WWE stuff I want to get into here is the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament. Now, they had like 6 wrestling matches on Monday Night Raw last week, which is like unheard of, right?
Right. Yeah. Seriously.
But they pushed a men's qualifier and a women's qualifier to a house show and then advertised the house show on TV.
No.
Now, some people, it depends on which side of the internet you like to play on. Some people were like, man, this is so silly to push a wrestling match from the wrestling show to the live event. That way, CM Punk can get his 25-minute promo in. So they were mad. There wasn't 8 matches, qualifying matches on Raw. And then, I'm of the mind state of like, oh man, they're driving people
right
to the house shows again.
They're bringing attention to the house shows. Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like I know where you stand on this, but like, it's been a very, very, very long time since Pro Wrestling's TV was trying to get you to show up at the venue for the weekend.
Right. Yep.
And that used to be the way it was done.
Yep.
So how do you feel about them kind of, just reverting, even if it's just for the tournament, to trying to drive people to house shows?
I mean, it's great, right? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, sell out house shows, They were just, I mean, for the longest time, it's definitely felt like house shows were just there because they were supposed to be there. I mean, you never really hear big numbers at house shows, title switches, once in a great while, they'll do the Madison Square Garden title switch, just because it's Madison Square Garden. But, I mean, it's good. It should be like that, if they're already renting the buildings, how are they not trying to sell them out? You have the TV time, you have the reach as far as, promoting, right? Twitter and social media in every sense of the word of, they can promote with all that stuff and that you just never hear about it, So yeah, I mean, it's cool. I think it's a good idea. I feel like the King of the Ring tournament should be done and kept up on throughout the entire like months building up to it, Now, are they supposed to go to just the finals in the at the pay-per-view?
I believe that they're just having the men and the women's final matches at the pay-per-view. Before we get into the bracketology here, I would like to just, put out my opinion on how preposterous it is to crown a queen of the ring in Saudi Arabia, where they're like begrudgingly letting women wrestle there to begin with.
Right.
So I don't know.
Covered from throat to ankles.
Yeah, I don't know if the Saudis went for it because it's just going to be like covering up more.
Right.
Woman with a crown
and a cape.
Yeah, but the whole thing is preposterous. So right now the quarterfinals are, well, the first round on Raw, Gunther beat Sheamus, Dragunov beat Ricochet, Jey Uso beat Finn Balor, Randy beat AJ Styles, Tama Tonga beat Angelo Dawkins, Carmelo Hayes beat Baron Corbin. LA Knight beat Santos Escobar, and Kofi beat Rey Mysterio. So the quarterfinals are going to be Gunther versus Kofi, which is happening right now in front of my eyes. Jey Uso versus Ilya Dragunov. What do you do there, right? Because you're trying to push Jey Uso, but
Right.
Ilya Dragunov is brand new. So I feel like if you're gonna beat Dragunov, why even have brought him up right now to put him in this tournament?
Yeah, if he wasn't going to be in the finals with Gunther, what the bracketing's way off on that.
Yeah. Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes, which is a similar situation, right?
Right. Correct.
And then LA Knight and Tama Tonga. So now, are you going to beat LA Knight? Do you want to beat Tama Tonga right now?
No, you don't.
Yeah, this is like a Tony Khan kind of a tournament. And then the first round for the ladies, you had Io beat Natalia. Lyra Valkyria beat Dakota Kai. Zoe Stark beat Ivy Nile in just a not pleasant to watch match on Raw last week. Bianca Belair defeated Candice LeRae. Jade beat Piper Niven. Nia Jax beat Naomi. Tiffany Stratton beat Mi Chin. And Shayna Baszler beat Maxine Dupree. So the quarterfinals are going to be Io versus Shayna, Lyra versus Zoe Stark, Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax, and Bianca Belair versus Tiffany Stratton.
So the women tag champions are in it.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. Yes. They're in
And how
it.
do you can't beat Jade, right?
No.
I mean, so does she win it in Saudi Arabia, I guess, right? She would have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm taking Gunther wins.
Yes.
Has to, right? And then Jade has to win.
Right.
Has to. Against who? I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. So that sets up Gunther and Cody
Yes.
in Germany. When is that?
That's in August in Berlin.
So after SummerSlam?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, because SummerSlam. Did you notice that they made WrestleMania like a couple weeks later?
For next year, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it, the 19th or something? Or
It's the 19th and 20th, which doesn't make any sense because it's not like they did it for the weather. It's an indoor stadium in Vegas.
yeah, right. But what I don't know. That's just a weird change. I'm surprised more people aren't crying about it for no reason.
I think they're just trying to further separate it from the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense. Yeah.
The Super Bowl is like the second week of February or whatever, right? So,
Yes. Oh, okay.
I feel like instead of being 2 weeks later, they're
A month.
a
Yeah.
month later, and then
Okay.
they're also giving themselves more time between Royal Rumble and then to WrestleMania there. But you were just talking about Cody Rhodes. So our last two topics here, good night, are Cody Rhodes topics. Dave did it. He finally did it. He took a WWE match and he presented it as a 5-star affair. Ricky, AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes, right? I
Yeah.
just lost my thing here. Is AJ Styles' first singles 5-star match in his
It
career.
is.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. AJ and Kurt Angle, AJ
Right.
and Samoa Joe,
Right.
AJ and Christian,
Yes.
AJ and John Cena,
Right.
Nakamura, okay, Okada. Finally, he gets one. It's against Cody Rhodes. I loved the match. I know that you liked the match.
Yeah.
Uh, did you see the Wrestling Observer newsletter faithful and the
No,
AEW faithful having a complete meltdown on Twitter over this 5-star rating?
I did not, but that does not surprise me. No.
Uh, the ratings are bullshit. We both know that, right?
Right. Right. Of course.
But what does this say about Dave Meltzer here?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't like that guy. I mean, it's irrelevant. All those AJ matches you just named off all drew more money too than any of the AEW guys at all, even combined. But uh, I don't know. I feel like they just purposely went out there and worked a little bit longer, because the match was, besides that 450 that he hit perfectly, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't anything death defying or spectacular in any way. It was just a good wrestling match back and forth. Plus, with the way that crowd was all night, you kind of want to just sit in every little thing that you could do, and they probably just sold into 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes or whatever it was. But I mean, of course, AEW nerds are going to freak out because I know everybody was comparing it to Ospreay and Bryan, right? Like that was
Yeah.
the big crybaby moments. Um, I'm sure Ospreay and Bryan did more things, but didn't have more meaningful moments than AJ and Cody. So right there says it all.
I think. Hang on, just give me 1 second. Hold on. All right, never mind. I remembered seeing a statistic one time that Luchasaurus had like 3 5-star matches or whatever. So
What the fuck?
I couldn't search it out fast enough, so I don't want to speak about it. It's not true. But our last subject, also Cody Rhodes related. Cody and Logan Paul, also at this King and Queen of the Ring.
Right.
Cody is saying on Twitter that it's going to be for both belts.
Oh,
First of all, there's the fact that the match is happening to begin with.
correct.
No build up or anything, which the AEW nerds are having a fantastic time reminding everybody of.
Right.
But you know what? There is no build. It's a cold match. And now it's going to be for both belts. So, dusty finish.
Maybe. They don't really have too much lined up for Cody, right? Or am I wrong?
No, it doesn't seem it.
Okay. Uh, so Gunther is after SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
Do they go to some sort of screwy thing, and then do they do uh, Logan and Cody at SummerSlam
Well,
again?
we still have 3 more events to get through this summer before we get to SummerSlam.
Oh, Money in the Bank, and what else?
We got to get through Money in the Bank,
Right?
Clash at the Castle,
Oh, fuck.
the King and the Queen of the Ring, um, Clash at the Castle, Money in the Bank.
It's got to be it.
Yeah, I think that's it. But
Um, yeah, I don't know. Uh, I mean, it'll be a good match, obviously. So, I mean, I feel like Saudi Arabia doesn't count, right? Like,
Right. That's
because it's a sold show. It's a money grab. Everyone just be safe and try to get out of there without being beheaded, and we're good. So
it's a giant female covered birthday party.
yes, pretty much.
But that was the counterpoint to the where's the story? There's
Right.
no build up. It's a birthday party show essentially.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what you do on it doesn't really matter. But you got to wonder if they're gonna try and make something have some type of continuity to what they're going to be doing going forward this summer. I feel like there's like I don't think they would have done 2 years of Cody Rhodes, quote unquote, finishing the story if they didn't know what they were doing next, right? So it just is a matter of them getting to it, I think.
Yes.
And they're just trying to not rush into that, but you don't you don't know the outcome of a 2 year story. You know what I mean? For 2 years and not know what you're doing after. So
Right.
there's got to be a reason, I would think, of why it's taking so long to get to what they're doing next.
Well, I mean, the big story, right, is The Rock and him, and I'm assuming that's all for next WrestleMania.
Hmm.
So you can't touch that until Rumble and on, I guess, right? So they've got to have better filler stories than every 2 weeks he has a new opponent. I mean,
Yeah, you because it's if their big plan of coming out of the finishing the story was, well, next year we
right,
will work with Rock. I
right, right,
think that Cody was or somebody there looked around and said, "Yeah, but what until then?" You know,
right, yeah,
it's not just hang tight for 10 months.
yeah. Does he need to be on everything? I guess is the next question then,
No,
because Clash at the Castle and Money in the Bank are kind of their own things that
mhm,
will do well whether he's on it or not, or defending the title or not. I guess just I should say, because I mean he could still be on,
yeah,
but I
he's
guess we
not.
don't.
He needs to be there, right? Because if people
Right,
don't do the Cody Rhodes pop, then
right,
what are they spending their money on? As far as
yeah,
to work on it,
but he don't need to be in the title match
right?
on each one of these. And then if he is, we just have to accept that that's what it's going to be, right? A couple few weeks each build up and running through everybody. Um, I always heard that was the knock on Brett, was that he wanted to defend the belt every match, and then I forgot if it was Shawn Michaels or Kevin Nash said, "You beat everybody." You know what I mean? Like there wasn't anyone. What else are we gonna do? You beat everybody. Like like that's what I'm actually afraid of. There is maybe having Cody on too
Yeah,
many title matches, right? So yeah, I would scale back on his title matches with like, especially like maybe Money in the Bank. Like I feel like if that's not the focus, I get it having the title match at the end of Money in the Bank, right? Everyone's on the edge of their seat waiting for it to happen. Um, Maybe don't give them something at Clash at the Castle, or because that's kind of Drew's house. Like, do you bring Punk back for Drew and Punk there, and let that crowd just eat it up?
I think from spoiler alert, I'm watching. Well, I'm kind of watching Raw while we're recording, and I think we're going to be looking at Priest and Drew McIntyre for Clash at the Castle,
Ah, okay.
which might spell disaster for Damian Priest.
Right, right, exactly.
But
Uh,
um, mm, but that's what they kind of look like they were setting up here.
Uh,
Another thing about all this is like where are we at on the CM Punk timeline here?
mhm.
How long are we supposed to? And I know it's the way wrestling always was and used to be and should be, but how long are we supposed to stay invested in this current day and age in this CM Punk Drew McIntyre thing when nothing can happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, thinking if it's going to be Priest and McIntyre at Clash at the Castle, Punk has to get involved there, right? And screw McIntyre,
Hmm.
and then you take Punk and McIntyre to SummerSlam.
Right.
That was my other thing was how many tickets went on the first day of SummerSlam? Was it 30,000?
I didn't see that.
I haven't seen an actual count, but somebody put up like what, like they were in line or whatever online, like I
The
guess in the
pre-sale
queue.
codes.
Yeah. And there was like 27,000 people in front of the person or something. Yeah. Supposedly, I was curious if you had a solid number anywhere else because I looked for it and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Let me do a little bit of research in here. Could you
But
imagine that
yeah,
being like online to buy something
yeah,
online? And
right.
there's 30,000 people in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I mean, that's the most logical booking is Punk interfering with McIntyre. Uh, Punk and Priest would have to play up the heel role, I would imagine, in that scenario. Screw McIntyre at Clash, and then build up. They have a big match at SummerSlam, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now,
Mm.
and even the guy from WrestleTix,
Yeah, he didn't have anything up.
he's got up that the pre-sale went live, and he was 30 minutes on, they call it the queue, which is,
Q, yeah.
and there was 16,544 people ahead of him.
Yeah, I saw somebody else had 27,000 in front of him.
But otherwise, he's got no other statistics on it
Yeah.
yet.
All right. We'll find out soon enough. They'll start releasing that soon, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm gonna look on Ticketmaster and see.
Because at the Browns Stadium, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
maybe we'll have
predicting around 60,000, I guess.
which is like they're just, if they just did 5 stadium shows a year,
Yeah.
it'd be all right.
Right. Exactly.
Crazy. All right. Well, you got anything else you want to get to tonight?
No, that was pretty much it. I think it'll be an interference for McIntyre. Has to in order to get him out of there alive, I would imagine.
Right.
Uh, and then it just builds up to that. And then what do they do with Priest, right? Something for SummerSlam for him there. So we'll see.
Yep. All right, Rick. Well, I guess that's it. We turned not bad for a couple of guys that didn't watch any wrestling last week, huh?
As usual.
We fucking nailed it tonight. Well, I'm Kevin Fulton. That is Ricky Reyes. This has been Podfluxxx, episode 54. There's the gimmick. We are out of here. Rick, I'll catch you next week.
Yep.